And we're back in the room once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once more to the gift that keeps on giving. That is the Caiman Show. Joining me today is a very well-known record producer, audio engineer, worked with some fantastically epic names over the years. Stuart Epps, welcome to the show. How the devil are you, sir? You okay?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolute pleasure, sir. Absolute pleasure. So, so obviously you've got a very storied career, which obviously we want to talk a little bit about. We said at the top of the show, you've worked with some fantastic names over the years. Yeah. So I guess my first question, just to step back in time a little bit, is how, where, when, and why did you become involved in this magical world, which is known to us as music, I guess?
Okay, well, you said how, when, and why. I've never been asked that before.
How, where, when, why?
How, when, no, what was there for? What was it?
How, where, when, and why?
How, where, when, and why. You might have to remind me about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, well, the how is I was actually 14 years old, coming up to 15. My best buddy, Clive Franks, who's a few years older than me, had already started work in this amazing place called Dick James Music. And Dick James, for people that don't know, was the Beatles music publisher. He was a very big publisher in London. And Clive, my mate, had gone there to work as the office boy. We were very jealous, very annoyed, but he got the job and he was there. And he had these ridiculous stories. He'd come back, he had to take the Sergeant Pepper sleeve to the printers and stuff like that, you know, because everything happened via the music publishers. So Clive had this incredible job. Anyway, he told me that he was being elevated to the next stage up, which was actually a disc cutter, and they were looking around for his replacement. And, you know, I was due to stay at school for several years, really, but I just thought, wow, because I was bored at school. If I could get this job, that would be amazing. So so that is the where, because I went for an interview at 7175 New Oxford Street and saw the head of Caiman there, really very posh gentleman. Anyway, I got the job. You know, what you need to get a job for an office boy isn't really, you don't need E levels or G levels or C levels or even whatever they are. But anyway, so I got the job as office boy and started off running errands at Dick James in this amazing place. How, where, when? This was 1967. Why? Because it was probably the best job I can imagine on the whole planet. And we're talking about 1967 in London, which was a bit of an amazing time for music in particular. You've got everything happening all at once. In fact, you know, you look the part there because we call this the hippie period. You see?
Oh, I got all that going on, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're just about 50 years too late. That's the only thing.
I just missed it by a heartbeat.
You know, it's never too late to become a hippie. That's a good song. But
I'll drink to that.
It was hippie times in London, and I came from North London, you know, sort of a suburb, but suddenly I'm in Soho, you know, and I'm seeing the most ridiculous people I've ever seen. People were wearing flares that were about, you know, 15 foot wide. They looked like they were gliding, you know, and everyone's wearing beads and, you know, all this stuff that's going on. So it was an amazing time. And it was also an amazing time because there were some pretty outrageous people that were working at Dick James Music. And of course, everyone wants to know. So the one person that stands out is a guy called Reginald Kenneth Dwight, who walks in wearing a noddy outfit, a noddy shirt, and he's very sort of funny. And but there's nothing funny about him when he sat down and played you a couple of songs or played me a couple of songs on the piano. And of course, this is the guy that changed his name to Elton John.
That's the one.
And, you know, I can go on for hours about the story, but the important part is that when I heard him play the piano and sing these songs, it kind of stopped me. I was in bands from when I was 9. I was a songwriter. I wanted to be a singer in a band. But when I saw Elton and heard his music, I thought, you know, this was so exciting. I just wanted to be involved in what he was doing. So along with a few other artists, I was now working in the A&R department, but specifically with Elton, I actually went on tour with him aged 18. You know, I never been to America. Yeah, I mean, we all turned up at Heathrow Airport for a 3-month tour of America. But by this time, actually, Elton had made the Empty Sky album, which I'd worked on a bit, and then the Elton John album, which I'd worked on a lot. organizing. This is sort of organizing session. I wasn't the producer on it. The producer was Gus Dudgeon, an amazing, my mentor really in record producing. And just got involved in working at Dick James Music. We started our own record label, and it was an amazing journey working for Elton, well, not directly for Elton, but working on the project and seeing what could happen to him. Really, that was it.
Amazing. So what was he like then, and how old would Elton have been at that point?
Elton was about 21. I was 15. I suppose he's coming up to 74, I think. So I won't say how much I'm coming up to, but you could work it out. And yeah, he was amazing guy, really, very charismatic. But we were mates, you know. He's quite shy, actually, Elton. Probably no one would believe that, but he was quite shy. We used to take him to restaurants and, you know, take him to North London. He came to my parents' place. You know, he wasn't very outward. He was quite quiet and quite shy. And yeah, you know, he was just a great guy making great. And then, you know, I can talk about this forever, but the fact is that
please do.
Yeah, he never intended to be a singer even. You know, he only intended to be a songwriter, and he was actually writing songs for Europe, for Eurovision. He was doing sessions, you know, but it was kind of told to him that no one really wanted to sing his songs particularly, and if he wanted them to be heard, he'd have to sing them. So he started singing the songs, and we made the Empty Sky album, which was a great album. And then we made this Elton John album with Gus Dudgeon producing, with Paul Buckmaster as the arranger, and I was involved in putting these sessions together. And then it was the formation of the Elton John brand, you know, his career taking off. But it took about 4 or 5 years. It was quite you know, it doesn't seem like a long time now, but then it seemed to go on forever, that no one was interested in him at all. You know, we're trying to get interviews. I was actually telling Mike Reed yesterday, you might have heard of, the DJ.
Yes, of course. You know, yes, I remember Mike.
Yeah, when we got the message through that Elton's got Top of the Pops on, and it was the first time, you know, they'd run through the first Top of the Pops for Elton. And, you know, he was saying, what am I going to wear? What am I going to wear? You know, and he went out and bought a little leather jacket, but it was all very exciting. And we thought, really, this is it. You know, he's going to take off now. The sales are going to go mad. It was with a song called Border Song. And actually nothing happened at all. The sales were the same, if not worse. It was pretty disappointing, to be honest. And but, you know, one thing you have to be in this business is determined, and you don't give up, and you keep trying. So we released more singles from the Elton John album. Your Song was one of them. It did
classic.
Yeah, classic now, but I can tell you, no one said it was a classic then.
Hey, if only they knew then what they know now, though, right?
If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't need to talk. No.
There's that. Yeah, there's that.
I might be Mrs. John. That would be what a terrible thought. No, I don't think I'd have gone that far, even if I knew he was going to be a billionaire. But yeah, so anyway, it's written down. What happened is that he went to America, played at the Troubadour, and they went mad there, and then it reverberated throughout America, and then it reverberated back to the UK. It was a headline in the Melody Maker, Dylan Digs Elton. The first time we'd had a headline, to be honest, and then it just started to all happen at once, really, you know. But this is mainly down to the determination of the artist himself, to Elton, you know, and he formed this great band, and you know, he's a very unusual, determined character, and let's face it, he's going to be #1 next week probably.
Amazing.
And how much more determined can you get? That when you're determined to get to #1, if you can't do it on your own, I'll do it with someone else. And he's just done it with Dua Lipa. This is like the Elton John story. It's supposed to be all about me.
I know.
Anyway, but I don't know if you know, but next week he's releasing a single with Ed Sheeran.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It's gonna be #1 again.
Of course.
And the album, you know, it's all duets. To be honest, I've heard the only one I've really heard is the Stevie Wonder, which is it's just superb. It's absolutely superb, you know. So, you know, again, it's the measure of the guy that he always has to try and be #1 one way or another, whatever it takes to be successful, to make great records, to make great music, to keep the whole thing going. I don't know anyone else like that. You know, I work with Chris Rea, who's pretty determined. He can be quite ruthless as well, but still nowhere near. I mean, no one comes close to Elton, really. He's just the king of doing it. The king, or maybe the queen, I don't know.
Yeah, well, so whichever. We live in a pretty diverse world now, right? It could be whichever he chooses.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. So was that your first shot at producing then, when you worked with Elton, or had you tested the water and flirted with it beforehand as well? Then, or?
No, not at all. I didn't produce Elton. I produced, my first production was with two girls who were called Birds of a Feather.
Right.
And it was probably only about 17 then. And actually Elton was playing piano. I had all these great session people playing on it. That was my first production. But no, I mean, the only time I've worked with Elton as producer is we were doing a duets album, and I co-produced one of the tracks, Duets for One, with him. You know, I've worked with him. Well, it's a long story. It's an involved story. But leaving Dick James, we then formed Rocket Records. So I was always on the office side, the A&R side, and the management side before I started getting back into production again. And then after the tour that we did in 1974, where I was looking after Kiki D, who was supporting Elton on this mega tour, 3-month tour where we met John Lennon and all this stuff, I actually decided I was going to retire, you see, because I'd sort of thought I've come to the end now. I'm very old, I'm 24. I've seen the world, I've done this, I've produced, I've done all that. So I was going to go and live with a very nice lady I met on Maui in Hawaii.
Oh, very nice.
She lived in an ice cream van. And I thought, that's it, I'm going to go and live with her in an ice cream van and live out my life in this luxurious place. Anyway, just before I did that, I thought I'd tell Gus, Elton's producer, that I'm leaving. And he said, well, that's a shame, because I'm going to build the studio in a place called Cookham. I'm going to build the best studio that's ever been built, you know. So I thought, you know, choice, Hawaii, best studio in the world.
Yeah, bit of devil's advocate going on there.
Yeah. Anyway, decided the studio was the one. So told the lady I'm not coming. Moved to Cookham, where I've been ever since, to be honest. This was 1974. And then we proceeded, or Gus proceeded, to build the best studio that's ever been made on the whole face of the earth. Probably one of the most expensive. It was £1 million he spent in 1974.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, that's a lot of money then. Well, it's a lot of money now, but a hell of a lot of money then.
Actually, you see, the more you talk, because I don't know whether you know a guy called Maldwyn Pope.
Maldwyn Pope?
Yeah.
No, remind me.
He's from your neck of the woods, which I'm assuming is sort of near Wales somewhere.
Yeah, South Wales, yeah. Merthyr Tydfil myself, if you've heard of it.
Well, the thing is that when we formed Rocket Records, we were signing new young artists, and one of them was this young boy, very young. In fact, his voice hadn't even broken yet, called Maldwyn Pope. And he was a lovely guy, lovely lad. And because he's in sort of TV and radio now in Wales still, and he's written songs for Cliff Richard and this sort of stuff. But anyway, you sound very much like him.
Ah, Maldwyn Pope. I shall think about this.
You've definitely got more hair than him. He's kind of lost a lot of his hair.
Yeah, I've still got time. I'm just keeping some on ration, you know, just in case.
You hang on to it. It's good stuff to have. Anyway, so we formed this, you know, Gus built the studio. We took 2 years to build it. One of the first artists that came there to work was a young guy called Chris Rea. And I loved his music straight away, and we got on very well. And amazingly, you know, several years later, he ended up buying the mill, which is kind of mad. So I suppose the thing is, without going into all the details of what I've done every minute of the day, one way or another, I've worked with amazing artists in their embryonic stage, and then see them grow into these huge stars, really. So that's what I'm trying to do these days more than ever, specifically with Liam Price, the young boy that you interviewed yesterday or the last week. But because, you know, when you come across something that sort of has that same feeling that I got when I listened to Elton or when I listened to Chris, then I have to do something about it. So he came in and we recorded his song, you know, a song that he wrote when he was 12, which is pretty astounding.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and he has got a brilliant voice. He came in here, he sang into my my beautiful 414 microphone here, which is a beautiful mic. It actually came from the there it is.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, it's all nice and warm.
I can see the quality. Yeah.
Yeah, it came from the Rolling Stones mobile studio.
Oh, wow.
From about 1971 or something. And it had mixing in it and David Bowie and all sorts of people.
That's incredible.
Anyway, so he came, so he came in, oh, you've got one as well.
Yeah.
He came in, what is your microphone there? Is it a Rode? I bet.
Oh, so, honest answer, I don't know.
No, doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as it works.
As long as it works. Well, yes. Anyway, he came in, we made the single, and then I did have this Epps record label, about 2 years ago. I released a track with a lady in America, but I sort of revitalized it for Liam. That's the thing.
Mm.
So, and I'm very excited about this Epps label actually, because it's, you know, things develop as you get older, you'll find out. And you know, you suddenly got a road that you've been on. You know, you don't realize until you go along it.
Start looking back.
That's it. And it's been an amazing road. And one way or another, I've been lucky. The name Epps, my name Stuart Epps, has been on a lot of different albums. You know, we talked about Elton, but it's also Led Zeppelin. There's I've forgotten them now. Bill
Twisted
Wyman,
Sister.
Kiki, Twisted Sister, Bad Company. Oh, I don't know, all sorts of people. So one way or another, it's been on a lot of records. And it's funny, really, because sometimes, you know, I'll be talking to someone or we'll be chatting on something or other, and they say, oh, I've got all your records. And have you? What are they? I don't know. What records have you got? I don't know. So, you know, there's people that know more about me than I know about me.
Yeah.
Record collectors. And so, so one way or another, it seems like, oh, I should make this Epps a bit of a brand, and probably should have done it years ago. But now it's this Epps label. And so Liam's, you know, we've released his single, it's out on Epps, and we've got a Christmas single of his coming out. I've met a beautiful lady from Romania called Ditka, and she just sent me a guitar and voice, and then I put the whole track on. It's a country song, and it's a country track, really. I used some musicians in Nashville. That's coming out. Actually, it's coming out pretty much the same time as Liam's. And then there'll be other things. I'm actually working with Pete Donegan. You're far too young to know, but you might know that he had a father. His father has died, unfortunately, called Lonnie Donegan.
I have to hit the Google now, aren't I?
It's terrible. You're terribly young. That's why you grow.
I don't know. I'm 43 now, you know. But yeah, I'm getting on.
I was going to say 23. So.
Oh, checks in the post, mate. Checks in the post.
Yeah. 43. Well, you ought to know Lonnie Donegan then. Lonnie Donegan invented something called skiffle, which was a form of music, really, but it was very English, although it sounded quite American. And it from that developed more or less into almost rock and roll. Blues and rock and roll, not blues. And artists like everyone you can imagine that you maybe grew up with knowing, like Eric Clapton, like Jimmy Page, like, I don't know, Jimi Hendrix, for all I know, you know, they had a lot of respect for this guy, Lonnie Donegan, who, anyway. But his son is a great singer-songwriter, and he's kind of country as well. I mean, country music, I don't like the sort of yeehaw country music where you imagine people riding on horses.
Yeah, and swinging lassos and things, yeah.
All that. I'm not so crazy about that. But modern country music, because, I mean, Elton was country, you know, we did Country Comforts, and, you know, the Rolling Stones did country-type tracks. So I'm not adverse to that, and I love the lyrics anyway. They seem to be the last, one of the last places that you'll hear a nice story is in a country song. You know,
definitely
a nice story. So right, I've forgotten what the hell I'm talking about.
Oh no, it's all right. We just roll into where we're going. As we were on country, you know. So I was going to drop in Garth Brooks and stuff like that, who I have a little listen to, and you're talking about the lyrics and everything there as well. You know. Friends in low places, you know,
because actually, you know, American country music now is pretty heavy. I mean, it's pretty heavy rock. Actually, it's not, you know, the lyrics might be still kind of country-ish esque or whatever, but the backings are pretty heavy stuff. You know, it's great music, and it's massive in America, and it's still,
it is. It's huge. It is. Yeah.
Popular here. So long may it rain.
Let it roll, baby, roll.
So you mentioned, see, if you give me a minute, I'll just carry on. So what you did mention Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
And so carrying on the story a bit, what happened was Gus Dudgeon sold the mill in about 1979, 1980 to Jimmy Page.
All right.
And Jimmy very nicely wanted to keep me on as studio manager and studio engineer. So now I'm working for Jimmy Page, which was a pretty amazing journey as well.
I can imagine it was.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't actually meet him for a few months. He's very eccentric, I would say.
Yeah.
He's a bit eccentric. And but eventually, well, terrible thing happened because they were getting ready, Zeppelin were getting ready to tour Europe, and I was getting ready to get the studio ready for the next Zeppelin album. And then we had the terrible news that John Bonham's died. You know, he was found dead at Jimmy's house. So the first project actually I did with Jimmy was putting together what was called Bonzo's Montreux, which was just a whole multi-track of drums, which Jimmy wanted to mix and put on this final Led Zeppelin album as sort of a tribute to John Bonham. So it was sort of being thrown in the deep end a little bit, but it was a great album. Coda is the name of the album, so very proud to have my name on that. And then I worked with Jimmy. We also did a film called Death Wish 2, where Jimmy did the music for that. And incredibly exciting past I've had. I can't believe it myself sometimes. Anyway, Jimmy was signed to Atlantic Records. And so he was telling friends of his that he now owns the Mill Studios. One of those was Bill Wyman. And then Bill comes in, and then I end up working with him for 20 years. And then Jimmy forms a band called The Firm. Is that right? Yes. Yes. So Jimmy forms a band called The Firm with a guy called Paul Rogers, who you might have heard.
Of course.
Yeah. All Right Now and Can't Get Enough of You.
Yeah.
So now I'm working with Paul Rogers, the best singer on the planet. Him and Elton, I would say, were the two best singers on the planet. Males, that is. And so that was a bit amazing as well to work on the Firm album and the Death Wish 2 album. And eventually I left the Mill to go freelance. And then I started a studio called Wheeler End, where I worked with a few other unknowns like Robbie Williams and Oasis and Mark Owen and Crazy Times. You better ask me some questions, I'll run out.
No, fantastic. So that's, you know, there's a lot of...
I missed out Twisted Sister, who...
Yeah, Twisted Sister, yeah, classic, you know, absolute classic. But great stuff. There's some awesome names. I think I dropped Twisted Sister in earlier, did I? But yeah, some great names there. And that was all at the start of their careers, was it?
Well, Twisted Sister had made one album called Under the Blade. And but now they were signed to Phil Carson, who just he didn't even call me up. He sent them to the studio, told them to come and see me. I'm producing their album. I didn't know what was going on. These crazy guys arrived. I mean, they kind of were crazy. At the same time, they were actually very down to earth, very normal, although they didn't look particularly normal.
You find that though, don't you? The most bizarre looking person. You think, oh my God, what the heck am I going to get myself involved with? And then you just find, oh, actually, you know, we're a nice guy. Yeah,
and you tend to find the ones with the most outrageous, CV tend to be the opposite. Although I wouldn't say that about Liam Gallagher particularly, although he was a lovely guy. And he was quite outrageous when he'd had a few, but he was, he kind of filled his persona as you imagine it. Although,
at what point in his career was that you got to work with Liam? Was that 90s still, or?
It was good question actually. It was it would have been about 98, 99. We were doing On the Shoulders of Giants.
Right, okay, yeah.
And I can talk about that forever, but it was Noel that booked the studio, and I was trying to get the studio going as a commercial studio. It was owned by Alvin Lee from 10 Years After. But I was trying to bring it into the 20th century, or towards the end of the 20th century. So it was Britpop time.
That's right, the height of Britpop, yeah.
And so when I got the call, because Paul Weller actually had been in the studio, and I got on great with him. He was a great guy. And I think he told Noel about the studio. And then I'm sitting there, and then I get a call, you know, Noel Gallagher from Oasis wants to book the studio. I can't believe
yeah.
it.
Oh, go on then.
The total kings of Britpop, you know.
Definitely.
So, I mean, Noel arrived. He arrived with every guitar I'd ever seen, every amplifier I'd ever seen, every keyboard I'd ever seen. I mean, a whole studio full of hundreds of instruments, you know.
Yeah.
And he'd already been working on the album. Actually, I haven't told this story much, so that you're getting a first here. So we're working away, and then suddenly he says, "Right, pack it up. This is it. We're going home." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Liam's found out we're here. He'll come in. He'll trash the place.
Oh God!
We're going to leave. We've got to go." And I was thinking, well, no, you know, we've just got here, and it's another week studio time. I'm not, you know, that's terrible. Anyway, while we're sort of discussing it, Liam walks in. And I'm expecting there to be explosions and murder and God knows what. He walks in, he's great. He's going, "Carl, look at this place, top this, top that." He said, "Carl, it looks like Jimi Hendrix's bedroom, this does." I asked him later, how did he know that?
Yeah, did he answer?
No.
Funny that.
Maybe I think he'd seen a picture of Jimi Hendrix's bedroom.
Ah, there we are.
But anyway, he and I got on straight away. I got on great with him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And proper geezer, you know, very, very nice, very polite, loads to tell you. And, you know, anyway, the two of them were okay. Liam and
did they bicker a lot among themselves?
Not when we were, not at this period. They were having a ball. We got some red wine in, and they're dancing about, and they were having a great time. We just had a great time together. So, you know, it's a nice thing. I mean, yeah, of course, I heard all the stories that they fight. I think the thing is, they're probably full on all the time. You know, they're full on whatever they do. So if they're having a great time together, which obviously they did in Oasis, they're full on.
Yeah, all or nothing.
And those two guys, when they're facing you, singing like they were in the studio a bit, it's like, whoa, you know, look out. There's like a lot of power there.
Yeah.
You know, most artists have got a persona, you know, like an atmosphere about them. There's something different about them. And both Liam and Noel kind of got that individually, but together it's quite a force. I never saw them live, but I would imagine that was a bit of an amazing band because
it was. Yeah, I got to see them live about 4 times, I think, Oasis, and I've seen Noel once, and I saw Liam when he was doing his BDI thing as well. Then.
Yeah. But, so well, that's interesting. So I'll ask you, what was the difference between seeing them solo and seeing the band?
Biggest difference was Noel, I guess, when he went with his High Flying Birds. You could see it was something new, like he brought in brass and stuff like that as well. Right. So it was a bit of a different dynamic there, but you could still feel the roots.
Right.
With Liam and BDI, it was just like sort of, to me, and I don't mean this as an insult, I mean they're complimentary, if anything. It was like an extension of Oasis, if you're with me, you know? But,
I would imagine that. I would imagine that's what you were going to say.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed each gig that I went to see, though, whether it was Noel, Liam, and all the Oasis ones I went to see. You know, I was a big fan back in the day, you know. So
because the thing is that Noel had done all this stuff on the album, and actually he was singing all the tracks, you know.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, what does he need Liam for? You know, he plays the guitar, he does this, he writes the songs, he sings the songs. It could be a solo album. What is he? But when Liam comes in, he's the lead singer.
Yeah.
The lead singer's just arrived with all that atmosphere, with all that bravado, and you know, he's in your face, but in a good way, you know. So he's the lead singer. And so that's what you need, you know. So he was what's probably missing from Noel's. Well, so when I did see him a little while after, so I guess he had to find his own sound, you know, because he didn't produce his records, he didn't create the sound. So it took him a couple of records, or it took him maybe a couple of years a bit like Robert Plant, actually. It's a very similar thing, but Robert had to find his thing after Zeppelin because he wasn't the producer. It was all down to Jimmy. So in a way, they've got a similarity there. They had to find themselves all over again, you know, after being in a band.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, let's face it, you know, Liam, I think the records he's made since are absolutely brilliant.
Oh yeah, brilliant. He's found himself again now, hasn't he? Totally, you know. And you know, I think BDI, for whatever reason, I don't think people, as in the general public, bought into it as much.
Right.
I think it was perhaps too similar to old school Oasis.
Yeah.
With a bit of a Beatles vibe to it as well, you know. But but now what he's doing now is fresh and it's something different, you know. But no, he's doing great. Hats off to him. You know, hats off to the two of them.
Hats off.
I don't have a hat. I got sunglasses. There we are. Off
So anyway, so that's so working with Oasis was good at but Robbie, you know, working with Robbie as well. It's great to work with these people, really. But I mean, obviously, my passion, I suppose, is more in finding new artists and you know, and making them happen in the same way as we know these other people already did it. I mean, in Robbie's case, actually, although he was in one of the biggest bands in the world, he was in Take That.
Yeah.
When he came to my studio, it was, you know, he'd already released Life Through a Lens, I think it was, and it was doing very badly, to be honest. The head of the record company, Chris, got his surname, you know, rang up and said, I've got a guy who wants to come in the studio, Robbie Williams. I said, well, that's good. You know, I didn't know much about him, but Life Through a Lens was really on the way down. I think it sold about 30,000 copies, you know. And so, but they weren't gonna sack him. I mean, so he came in to make this next album. And he was just brilliant. You know, he's brilliant to work with. A great guy.
I was going to ask you, he was good to work with, grounded and everything.
Great. Yeah, totally brilliant. I mean, he was very interested in the fact that I'd worked with Elton. He wanted to know, what did Elton do with this, and what was it like when you did that? You know.
Yeah.
And he was with, I've forgotten the name of the songwriter now, but who was the guy who writes songs with him? I can never think of his name. Never mind. But Robbie is the lyricist, you know, on this album, and the singer, obviously. So. And the album that we were making, which was I've Been Expecting You, which had all these amazing tracks on it. But actually, just before they released that album, they released them while he was at the studio. They released Angels, and that was like, that just went nuts, didn't it?
That's it. It went off like a truckload of dynamite, Angels, didn't it?
And in fact, I sang with him on one track we did, and that was nice, doing backing vocals. But yeah, he was brilliant to work with.
What track was that?
Well, actually, it was a track called I Wouldn't Normally Do This Sort of Thing. I wouldn't normally do. And actually, it's a Pet Shop Boys song.
Ah, right, okay.
And it was a B-side, but actually, it's on the album. For some reason, it's on the Friends album. You know, the TV show.
Yeah.
They've got an album out. I guess they must have played it on a episode or something. So, but I think it was on an EP, which also had Angels and something else.
Brilliant stuff.
I mean, that's a long time ago now. That's I'd hate to say how many years that was, because he did the Millennium track, which was
that's right. Clever. Yeah, in the late 90s that was. Well, obviously 99, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Well, he's very clever to do that. You know.
That's it.
The first one out, and he used the Bond strings, the James Bond strings or something. They're great productions, and you know, I can't remember the guy who produced it all now, but anyway, it was all good stuff. But it was great that they came to my studio, and we had a good time.
Brilliant stuff. That's what it's all about, right? Yeah. So out of everyone you've worked with, then, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So who would you say is probably the
ugly?
Go on, let's go for the ugly then. Go on, eh?
No, I can't say.
You can if you want. No, I was just going to ask who was probably the easiest to work with, and also on the flip side, then who was the most particular?
Oh dear, the most particular. Well, that would probably be Chris Rea. Is the most particular. Yeah.
Example.
Well, he I suppose I'll just be nice about it. So he tends to write a song and then he knows exactly how he wants it to be.
Yeah.
He knows exactly how he wants it to sound, and that's down to every instrument and the sound of the record and everything else. So in those days, he would work with producers and engineers. He actually doesn't work with anyone now. He works on his own.
Just locks himself away for a few days. Yeah.
Few days, few years. And he drives himself mad, whereas he used to tend to drive us mad as well. But it's only because he knew exactly what he wanted. So, you know, in searching for that, and if he's got to go through someone else to get the sound, whereas Elton, you see, is the opposite. He's very happy to have that taken off him. He's not interested in having a studio, not interested in producing it himself. He writes the song. Right, now you sort it out. You know?
Yeah.
And he plays on it, obviously, and it's his band, and he might help be involved in the arranging. But when it comes to sitting in a studio for days, weeks, and months, he's really not interested.
Yeah.
In that.
So would you say, on the flip side, then he's one of the easiest ones to work with?
Absolutely, Elton is easy to work with. He's so professional in the studio, no messing around. You know, he works extremely hard when it comes to doing it. Doesn't hang about. So yes, very, very easy to work with. You know, I mean, most artists they've got their difficulties, and you know, there's pluses and minuses and whatever, I suppose. But bringing us right up to date, Liam is an absolute.
Yeah, I was going to say, right. Let's talk about Liam. Let's talk first of all, then how. So obviously, I discussed it a little bit with him, but for those who haven't seen that interview or listened to it, how did you and Liam come to unite, sort of thing? Who contacted who?
Well, it was through his mum,
yeah,
Donna, who was looking for a producer. I guess I only found that out the other day. But anyway, they were actually looking for a producer. And if you Google record producer, I'm there somewhere. So, yeah, and she just got in touch via my website, as a lot of people do. And I encourage more people to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I only heard 2 songs that he wrote, both of them. And I was immediately struck by his voice. That was the first thing.
Yeah, great voice, fair play. Hats off
voice,
again.
Actually, just like the phrasing that he was using. I love that phrasing. It's a bit Stevie Wonder, a bit Michael Jackson, a bit Craig David. It's my favorite sort of phrasing. So, you know, I was struck by that. And of course, when I heard that he's only 15, this is mad, you know.
That is crazy, isn't it? How does that voice come out of a kid so young, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's because it's not just the voice, it was the technique as well. It's the phrasing, which is something that you generally learn over years, not so young. Well, you can take Michael Jackson. I mean, he was doing it when he was about 3 or 4. Or
that's right.
You know, in the Jackson 5, he was astounding. So I suppose that's the thing. So to compare, although I've been comparing him to Elton, you could compare him to Michael Jackson in a way, in terms of the way he was singing at such a young age. And also experiencing all this sort of media stuff that happened to him with the Voice.
Yeah.
The Voice Kids, you know, where at age 12, you know, he's like a little star on the TV every week. I mean, I think it's a bit much, to be honest, but if it works out and helps you, then you got to say it's great. If you cry your eyes out and you never want to sing again, obviously that wasn't a good idea. You know?
No, that's it. Yeah.
I actually always say that making music isn't really a sport, and it's certainly not. It's not really a competitive sport. You're not like running a race here, although people are in competition with each other when you make records, but they're not standing next to you or in the wings and they come on next. You know, it doesn't quite happen like that ruthlessly, you know. And I mean, Elton certainly never went into competition. Everyone seems to go into competitions these days, you know.
Yeah.
Generally, in those days, you play down the pub.
That's it. Well, that's what I do still to this day, you know.
There you go. Yeah, so you play down the pub, and that might grow into the local town hall, or then you might end up at the local theatre, and then you suddenly build up a following, and then, you know, that's probably Oasis, all those bands, that's how they started. And then you go down to London if you're not already in London, and you make a name like that.
That's it, Camden Circuit and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, all that. Wow, we used to love that though. I mean, when I worked at Rocket Records, we had the Marquee Club.
Oh, right, yeah.
In Wardour Street. And literally, as the record company, we'd be informed you know, you get this tape of a band, and then they'd say, right, and they're appearing at the Marquee next week, and every record company would go along after hearing the tape, loving the tape, and now they're expecting to sign them as long as they can play, you know, right, we'll sign them up. So that's the way it used to go there then. And of course, it's very different. You know, I never really thought of that before, but before talking to you exactly that way, is that now it's so much on the TV. You know, these bands are making it, these solo artists are making it. You see them 1 week and they can hardly sing. Well, they can sing, but they're not amazing. And then suddenly in 6 weeks' time, they got one of the best voices. They're all dressed immaculately. You know, the only problem with that is that people at home think that that's how it happens.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And you've got to wear
a nice the grassroots of it all.
Yeah, you know, I've only got to wear a nice pair of trousers or a decent skirt and sing a little bit, and I'll be a big star. You know. And the other thing with that is that generally on these programs, they're only singing cover versions of other people's songs.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with Liam, is that when he was on The Voice Kids, he was singing cover versions and doing an amazing job. But it took him probably a year or two to get over the whole shock of all that. But then he started writing himself, and the song that we've released, Disappear, is
Disappear.
I've heard it. Ever written. Amazing.
Excellent stuff. So let's talk a bit about that, and let's talk a bit about Disappear. So Liam presented you with that himself. Yeah. And the roots of it, I guess. So where did you go from there to make it what it is right now?
Very easily, really, because I listened to it. I was thinking of different arrangements, or should we do this, or should we do that? But the more I listened to it, the more I got into it. He came through that door whenever it was. It's only a few months ago. He put down the keyboard, which sounds like an acoustic. Then we put down a guide vocal, which was magnificent. You know, that was the thing, really. He got in front of this microphone, and I put the headphones on, and I'm like, I know what the voice sounds like in these headphones, and his voice sounded amazing.
Brilliant.
So I'm just sitting there, and I could have been at Abbey Road, I could have been at the Mill, I could have been at any studio in the world. You know, the same feeling happens. It's not to do with the studio, it's to do with the magic that he was creating with his voice. He's got a great voice. And then after that, in fact, I'm playing everything on it. I just remembered that. Yeah, I'm playing the guitars and the pianos and the strings and the drums or whatever, because it wasn't a complicated song to play, because I'm not a great musician. But yeah, do you know what? I'll tell you this, I haven't told anyone else that either, is that now we've done 2 songs, because we've done this Christmas song, which is called You're My Best Gift. There you go.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. So is that all done?
It's all done. It's
finished. Sealed.
I finished it yesterday in this room.
Excellent stuff.
Ooh, I worked very hard on that.
Good man. So when is that out? Obviously, it's out before Christmas.
Yeah, it'll be out in the next 2 weeks. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. And where can people get it? On all audio platforms, is it?
No, you can't get it on all the platforms. You can get it on iTunes.
iTunes, yeah, fantastic.
It'll be on all the platforms eventually, but initially it's only out on iTunes.
Yeah, launching it on iTunes. Yeah. Excellent stuff.
And the thing is that what I was going to say, though, is there's been a bit of a magic thing that's happened on the 2 tracks, that although I've been producing them, I put every instrument on there. And on You're My Best Gift, I had my keyboard player. I couldn't play this. It had a few chords I didn't know. So I had Paul Hirsch, who I've known for 40 years or more. He's an amazing musician, and he played pretty much everything on it. And but magic happened in the room, I promise you. Magic was happening. We put it down all very quick, and then suddenly I'm listening to it back in here. I can play it now. And I'm going, when did I do that? Who did that? I don't know. It's sort of it's a great feeling when a track takes on a life that you almost didn't imagine how that happened. You know, it just sort of grew, and it doesn't always happen. I promise you, it doesn't always happen that way. You know, you could be struggling, and suddenly, you know, it needs this, or it needs more, or it needs this. But Liam's track just seems to have a magic that I'm very pleased exists, and I hope that continues, because obviously we want to make an album, and we want more songs from Liam. He's going to have to get writing.
Excellent
He's
stuff.
still a young lad, you know, he's still at school. He's got his mock exams coming up. He does gigs. He does gigs every weekend. He's playing actually. Talk a lot, don't I?
No, that's what it's all about. It's a talk show.
He's doing a gig in Cookham Saturday week, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. Yeah. It was a concert a lady's putting on in one of our village halls, and she heard about Liam, and he's going to come and sing the Christmas record and disappear. So
fantastic!
It'll actually be the first time I've seen him perform, you know. So I'll be petrified.
Well, if you are, he is, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, he's almost an old hand at it at 15 because he's done a lot of performing. He's done a lot of appearing on stage, which it's just crazy, really. I mean, there's not that many artists that start out so young. But the thing is that he's got a great heart. He's got a great soul, really. He's a really nice lad. You talk to him. He's got
great kid.
He's got no. That's the only frightening thing is he's supposed to have a few airs and graces, and he doesn't seem to have any.
None at all. None at all. I know he's great. He's so humble.
Well, we might have to teach him a few because you do need a little bit of. Well, his dress sense is a little bit unusual. You know, on this sleeve for the Christmas song, he's wearing a bright red, sparkly jacket.
Yeah.
You know? So that's good. That's why he reminded me a bit of Elton as well.
Yeah, that's a bit of flamboyancy there.
Yeah, flamboyance. That's the word.
That's the one. Excellent stuff. Goes a long way.
Yeah.
So obviously you're working with Liam. So you've mentioned the album. So when are you looking to do that, over the course of the next year or in the new year?
Yes, over the course of the next year. But we've really, I mean, to be honest, it's pretty mad what we're doing, releasing this Christmas record. No one in their right minds really releases, 2 singles from an unknown artist. And very rarely do new artists release anything at Christmas because everyone and their auntie releases, every famous artist is going to release at Christmas,
Yeah.
But the thing is that I listened to this Christmas record some time ago, and then I suddenly listened to it again with my wife, and we just said, we've got to do that. We've got to record it.
It's good, yeah. Was it his idea, your idea, or?
It was my idea to do it again, and let's do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, Liam was all up for doing it, but it's all happened extremely quickly, and it's finished. So we're just hoping that people love it and it does well.
Excellent stuff. Remind us what it's called again.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's called "You're My Best Gift." You're my best. I have to keep remembering it. Actually, I've got the lyrics here. So you're my best gift. And so obviously what it's about is it's not about giving, a train at Christmas. It's like the best thing that you could have as a gift is the gift of love, really, from another person. So although it's an obvious thing in a way, I don't know if there's many songs. I mean, Elton's song is Happy Christmas, Jingle Bells and all that. But this is Christmas, but it's about my best gift, which is the giving of love to another, having, and it doesn't, it's not necessarily young people, it's old people having themselves, having this relationship. That's the best gift you can have, is the gift of love from another person.
That's it. Yeah. They say at Christmas, it's more, or should be more, about presents rather than presents.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah,
did you just come up with that?
Stole it. Can't remember where I stole it off. I stole it off someone on morning TV a little while ago, I think. But
and look, let's face it. The thing is that last Christmas, a lot of people were split up because of the COVID. It doesn't matter how much money they had, they could not be together.
Nope.
They might be in another country, they're not allowed into the other country. So, so this year, at least, everyone can be pretty much, unless something horrible goes wrong, we hope it doesn't, everyone can be more together than they were last year as human beings together.
Definitely. Everyone can get to see their loved ones this year, hopefully. So,
I mean, isn't it? It was last year, the Christmas dinner had to only have 6 people.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's right. Yeah. I normally spend it with my parents, and then my sister and her boys, my auntie, my cousin, and everything. And it's just like, this is strange. You know.
Yeah.
But
That's it. So
yeah.
you know, so sometimes these things, these things just have a way of coming about. So it kind of maybe means a lot. And I've just done a video as well for the single, which is just a lot of couples meeting up and getting together. So
Good stuff. Like I said, that's
and
what it's all about, Nick.
anyway,
Absolutely.
you'll be the first one to hear it and see it. But you must send me an email.
Excellent. Yes, most certainly will.
We're not in email contact.
Not as of yet, no. But if you stay on after this, we'll have a quick chat now. So that's fantastic. So what's next for yourself then, and for the label really then? What's the long-term plan?
Well, the long-term plan is also the short-term plan. Well, the short-term plan will be quite long. No, I'll start again. So we've got Liam coming out in a couple of weeks. We've got Ditka coming out in a couple of weeks. We've got I've actually put out an album which is a talking book, which is called Elton John. It's my story of me and Elton.
Oh, awesome.
It's the story of my early years, it's called, with Elton. From when I left school, from when I joined Dick James, like I was telling you, when I first met Elton, and it goes on for about 4 or 5 years. So I'm actually releasing a CD of that on my Epps label as well.
Fantastic.
And I think that's it really. So there's 3 things. And as I say, we've got Pete Donegan coming up in the new year, and there's another couple of new artists that I'll be releasing. There's a guy called Damien West, who's done a rock single called Canadian Girl, and that's coming out. So it's very exciting, really. I mean, see, it's exciting working with people and making productions and recordings anyway. To be able to have a hand in releasing them and helping them to promote them on my label is even more exciting, really.
And rewarding, I guess, as well.
Yeah, rewarding if it all goes well. And it's nice to see it. It's nice to see them in sleeves. It's nice to hear them on programs like yours on the radio. There's when you've been in the music business, or if you care about the music business, you get such a buzz from hearing your record. I was watching a film on Barry White, who I did actually get. I got to work with Barry at
did you?
Yeah.
Oh, legend.
And he was talking about his early days, about the day when he first heard his first record on the radio. I mean, that is and actually I got a funny story about that, because I was sitting around the studio with Twisted Sister, and we were waiting for them to play the first Twisted Sister record on the radio. And when they played it, it was at double speed.
Oh no!
It was like Mickey Mouse.
Oh no! Like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Terrible. And what it was in the days when we did, I don't know, it was on a 33 and a third, or something like that. I don't know what it was. But anyway, eventually found out it was the wrong speed and played it right. But there's always that special moment when you hear your record that you've had something to do with on the radio. It's a great
Definitely
moment.
Great sense of pride.
Absolutely.
Excellent stuff. Great to see.
Yeah, so the future's full of more great music. This room that I'm in now, that it's very small studio really, but it's fully formed.
Oh, excellent. Hey, you've got everything there. That's for sure.
My camera's moving about now. So like I was saying, I found that it doesn't matter how big or small, especially with the equipment now, it doesn't have to be big. So I always used to think that studios had to have a magic room, a magic atmosphere about them that maybe was created by spending fortunes on the decor.
Yeah.
It's really not that. It's the music that makes the magic,
Most definitely.
And, I was watching the Beatles Get Back, the new film that's out last night, and it's a bit long, to say the least. Are you a Beatles fan?
Yes, I am a Beatles fan. Yeah, I've got vinyl, a shed load of vinyl in the living room there. Yeah, it's some of it inherited from Sharon and Gerald. God bless you, Mum and Dad. But I'm a big Beatles fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that watching them in a room together, it was a big room. It was a film studio, Twickenham Film Studios, and actually they were having a lot of trouble because they were all millionaires when they were making Let It Be. and they're all so successful, they don't actually have to do this anymore. And I think, to be honest, they didn't really. It looked like maybe Ringo was the only one that I'm going to be here no matter what, you know.
Yeah.
But the other three are like, do I need this to work with him again, to work with him again? And do you know what? I know they were being filmed, so it might have had something to do with it. But the way they interact within each other, even though they're on the verge of having an argument at times, it was so brilliant because they were being so polite and so caring of each other, really. And I've seen a lot worse, to be honest. And in fact, I'm slightly to do with a very famous tape that was made by a band called the Trogs.
Oh yeah, I remember the Trogs. Yeah,
the Trogs, Wild Thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, my friend Clive, I was telling you about, recorded them without them knowing when they were having an argument, and it's very heavy. It's funny because they're swearing every other word.
Yeah.
And they also got very southern accents, you know, like down south. Oh, wow, this sort of an accent. You played it wrong. You did it. And they're having a proper row, proper row. And that often happens in the studio.
Yeah, I think there was when we obviously spoke about the brothers Gallagher earlier. I think there was one later on with Liam and Noel having a little bit of a crosswords in the studio, which came out as well. Yeah, one of my DJ friends had hold of a copy. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
It weren't from yours, was it? It weren't from your place, was it?
No. I got them red wine. They were gone all the
time. There we are. If there's wine involved, you know, nothing else matters, right?
They're having a ball. They were just having a ball. But yeah, when I get your email, I'll send you. I'll also send you an outtake from the Oasis album, which was a track that Noel did. I don't know if it ended up on the album, so I'll send you that as well.
It's fantastic, excellent stuff. Yeah, we'll sort that out just after now.
If we get sued, I'll say it's your fault.
Top man, you won't be the first to try. You probably won't be the last.
Yeah. But watching, you know, the thing is that we must find some new band. Where are you anyway? Where are you
in a place called Merthyr Tydfil in South Wales.
What's it called again?
Merthyr Tydfil. It's just north of Cardiff.
Wow.
Yeah.
We love Wales. There was a studio, unfortunately it's not there anymore, right near Snowdonia, called, there's obviously Rockfield.
Rockfield's still going, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, Rockfield's still going, and I worked there quite a bit. But this one was called Bryn Derwin.
Right, okay.
Bryn Derwin, and it was a great studio. And it's unfortunately he sold it, but I was there for a couple of weeks with the band and had a great time. Beautiful with all this. It was a slate mine, I think.
Yeah.
And we just love Wales. You know, we miss it very much.
There's some great history and some great scenery. You know.
And there must be some great bands there lurking.
There are definitely. You know, it's in where I'm from in Merthyr Tydfil. There's bands just crawling out of every crevice on the ground. You know, they're great as well.
The only thing is, if they live in a crevice, they're probably not going to be able to afford them.
Well, if people do want to get in touch, what's the best means of contact? Where can they find you? Is there a website? You on social media?
Yeah, but on my website, which is stuartepps.co.uk.
stuartepps.co.uk. We'll drop the link in the video and audio descriptions for you there as well, so people can get in touch direct there as well.
I'm very available, but the thing is that I just haven't come across any great bands, you know, any bands at all really lately. I used to get sent a lot of bands stuff, but I haven't got anything at the moment to play band-wise. I can't think if I'm even working with a band. They're all solo artists that I'm working with, male or female. So we must find some great bands. That's the thing.
Let's keep in touch, and I'll see what I can dig out of the valleys for you.
Definitely dig out of the valley, because Supergrass, aren't they from your neck of the woods?
Supergrass, Gaz Coombs, and all that. Are they? I thought they were Londoners. Supergrass, were they not?
No, I think they're Welsh, aren't they?
Are they?
I think so. I thought so.
So maybe they are. That's another one for Google for me after.
What am I thinking of then? Who is the big band? There's a big band.
We've got Stereophonics. We've got Managed to Preachers. Stereophonics, yeah. Phonics. They're just from Caiman, which is just over the valley, just that away there.
What a voice.
You've got the Manics as well, Manic Street Preachers. They're just from over the hill that way, over in Blackwood. There's Feeder as well.
Feeder?
Yeah.
Wow, I used to love Feeder.
Yeah, great one, great. Yeah, I saw Feeder a little while back. They did a reunion in Chepstow Racecourse. They did. I worked there. I worked first aid cover there. But it was a great gig. I just got to stand at the railing all night and just basically have a free gig, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love Feeder. Absolutely.
Great stuff. No, brilliant.
Is he talking about some great rock voices there?
Absolutely.
And that's got to come from, I don't know why, but you get great rock voices from mountainous and that sort of environment.
Yeah, there's something in the water there. Is
something to do with people, in the water and in the mountains, people shouting at each other or something.
I thought you were going to when I heard that shh, then I thought you were going to say something about sheep.
No.
It's all a lie anyway. It's all a myth.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with sheep.
Good stuff. Excellent. Well, before I let you go, are there any more plugs, shout outs, acknowledgements, or anything that you want to check in, or have we covered everything here?
No, we've covered just about everything and more.
Excellent. Well, for my people watching and listening, if you do want to get in touch, again, the website will be just about here somewhere if you're watching, or at the bottom of the description here if you're listening. Do get in touch. Keep an eye out for Liam Price, cracking young artist. The Christmas song coming out, You're My Best Gift. That should be out pretty soon. Next few days, are we saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent stuff. So keep a lookout for that. And Stuart, it's been lovely to chat to you. Thank you so much for coming on for a bit of a natter.
Very nice.
Let's do it again sometime.
Definitely, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Man. Stuart Epps on the Caiman Show, everybody.
All right, woohoo! 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 Woohoo!